Okay, we're past that time. Let's get out, let's mingle, let's mix, let's actually have fun again.
Welcome to StaffBuffalo's Pain Points Podcast.
Welcome to the next episode of the Pain Points Podcast. Today we have creative strategist Lindsay Taylor. We're going to dive into all of his background, of all the different things he does. He's fascinating. But I want to know, how did you get to where you are today? Like, what was your first job? What was the genesis? Like, what kind of things did you collect along the way to get to where you are?
So I would probably say what I kind of like sticks to is the most. I was in high school, and a friend of mine, Ryan Gervix, we were talking. This is probably like our 11th grade year, and we wanted to basically do our school's first trip, our first senior class trip. The school's never done a senior class trip before, so we got together and we campaigned to all of our classmates. Got to sign up. We were picking between Busch Gardens and Cedar Point.
Whoa.
So we got enough student support. We took it to the council, and that's really was probably the first time of really like organizing something. But I always, like a kid, always had this creative mind and always this organizational skill set. Even if we were, playing football on the street, we would like set up these leagues amongst each other and stuff like that. And
You're coming back at 2 to play.
right, like, and we would do that as a collective. So it was always like kind of like embedded. But yeah, so that was kind of, I would probably say early on, Sunset. But as far as like first job, my first job was actually at Tops, or back then it was called, well, at that time it was called Martin's. Yeah. So Martin's, Tops are rebranded, I guess you kind of could say, to Martin's. So that was my first job.
So like grocery store style.
Yeah, grocery store.
So like, what were you doing, like
produce section?
Produce. Yeah. So were you stocking the shelves on the bad produce?
So we had the whole produce section. So you were doing everything from stocking, restocking, pulling stuff out the back. Obviously pulling out bad fruit. Wasn't a whole lot of it, but you kind of had to know.
There's some bad apples.
Literally. And you had to kind of like know a little bit of like the fruits, like when they were ripe, you kind of had to like show people like little tricks of the trade. So
you learned a lot too.
Yeah, so you learn a lot like just by like working there, but also by like just like customers will also tell you some things as well too. So I was there not too long, probably like a couple of months, and then I ended up getting a job right next door at Delta Sonic. And Delta Sonic was really great. Was really great during that time because Delta Sonic was great in a number of different ways. One, you were getting paid weekly, right? Mm-hmm. And it was like less than minimum wage.
Too, right?
And you got tips that you could take home every day, right? So you could save one portion of it, whatever have you. But yeah, as like a high schooler, was making some decent money, right?
Oh yeah. Especially the summer months and everything.
Yeah,
like that.
And surprisingly enough, during the holiday months like Thanksgiving and Christmas, you will make a lot of money. Like especially on days like where like nobody's gonna get the car washed. It's cold outside. It's snowing. Those would be the most days that you will actually make more tips than actually some summer months.
Wow.
Right? Because people are trying to get the salt off their cars. They're tipping a little bit more. It's the holiday season.
They're more grateful for it.
Yeah. They're more grateful for it. Like the holiday, don't get it wrong. If it's a nice day outside, you will get good tips. But also you have like not best of both worlds, but you have pros and cons, right? Like if you're working outside in the cold, you're dealing with the elements, right?
Oh, yeah.
But then like you could like step by, like there are certain pockets like you could step by like the heaters, you get warmed up, like so it really wasn't.
You get some breaks, but that might also drag your day on too.
Yeah, so actually like in working in the cold wasn't as bad as you would think it would be, being outside the majority of the time, because even like the sprayers like hot water in them.
To do that.
Yeah, they have like hot water in them, so it's not like your hands are like freeze. Like like if it gets like temperature dropping, like that's a little different, but like at a certain point they don't bring people in. But then you got to think about it when it's days where it's 80, 90 degrees outside, right? And you're outside and you're nothing but sun, and you're dealing with all the grit and the sweat from the car. And so it gets a little sticky.
And you're like, now I want cold.
Right, now you want cold, and like you're probably not as, it's probably worse to do it because there's not as much access to AC as much. You know, because they're coming out of the car wash, which is hot. Yeah. Right, the car is already hot itself.
And then you're on it.
And then you're on it, you're moving in the heating conditions. So you're going back and forth to the store. Maybe, hopefully, if you're doing it inside of a car, maybe they have the AC on. Maybe that may be the...
You're like, maybe.
Maybe,
you're
yeah.
like, oh, fingers crossed.
But that was as far as like, early on jobs as like high school was pretty much dead. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you get a ton of work ethic from that. Yeah. And like, especially like dealing with customers and like right from the beginning, you were just face to face with customers.
Yeah. So that was the thing too. So you're the face of that brand essentially. When people are walking in and they're walking in the produce section, like they're looking for somebody to kind of connect with. At Delta Sonic at the time, they had this whole thing called KISS University, where They put all the employees through, told you how to deal with people, the customer engagement pieces. And they were pretty poignant about it. Now, so much is still then. It's like, now when I go through Delta Sonic, I'm like, they forgot to do this. They forgot to do that.
Not up to my standards.
Not up to the standards because it was
stringent.
Yeah, it was very much on that. Yeah.
I applied a few times. I did not get a job there. I thought it was so cool. Because really, they had like lines out the door for all the high school kids going to apply for all this.
Yeah. You had to like find like it was.
I'd have like a referral to get you.
Yeah, well, it was harder. Like I never got into like Wegmans, and I thought Wegmans was like
so many times I applied so many times.
I felt like Wegmans was like. I feel like Wegmans was like a college entrance exam.
Oh yeah.
They were very strict on who like they brought in and how they brought them in.
Another good management training program too.
Yeah. Delta Sonic was, I believe I got through Delta Sonic. Well, it was down the street from my house, and my neighbor did work for him. He's worked for him a long time. I don't know if he referred me there, but so I just had a conversation. But then I do know like there was like we feel like so if you kind of knew somebody that worked there, it made it a little bit easier. But they were, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Like Wegmans didn't. It felt like it didn't care.
I tried so hard. The one in Amherst.
I tried. But I just wasn't qualified enough for
Me neither. I always wanted. It was like that they had a college program too. So
yeah.
You could still get some money for college. I was trying to go for that.
And I know, and I have some friends today that they worked at Wegmans for a very long time, and some of them still do some part-time stuff. Like even they have like really great career jobs, but they love working there. You don't really see employees stressed out there, which I just not noticing.
That's a really good point, and it's a very anytime you're dealing with the public, and then you have people rushing in like, I don't have this.
Like
one
there's
thing
just the atmosphere,
dinner.
like whatever just people overall who shop at it are not really stressed up, but like you never really encounter any. Negative experiences as much. Yeah. Everybody's kind of like even
say a lot about the organization.
Yeah.
Good point.
That's a good point, Wegmans. That's a good point.
Good job, Wegmans. So then let's talk about your creative. Like, how did you then go from you're in high school, and then you're like, okay, well, I have all of these creative ideas. I have all of these really great skill sets. I can organize. You're like that in and of itself is an entire skill set. So then how did you parlay that into, I want to dabble in this. I want to try that. I want to add this to my portfolio, if you will.
Yeah, so it started off my freshman year in college.
Where'd you go?
Buff State.
Nice.
So it was freshman year in college. I went and I got interested. It wasn't like something that I kind of was like, going for, but I got interested into the student union board, in which they were essentially like the events team, promotion team on campus, right? Mm-hmm. So they ran all of the Fall Fest and the Spring Fest concerts, all of the student activities. So I got involved with them early, got right involved in like one of the earlier concerts.
And were you always into music before this?
No.
So this was kind of your foray.
Yeah. So, and they were doing other like campus activities as well too. And then eventually, as my time kind of went on with it, I then became like the president of the student union board of that entity. So like we ran all the Fall Fest, Spring Fest. We'd be bringing pretty big artists, so like concerts and festivals that would happen on campus. Anything that happens inside of the union, we would basically do. And then that branched off into like, as I was kind of like, because when I went to Buff State, I said, one of my things is, hey, like if I stay here to go to school, right, I wanted to stay on campus so I could have like that full college experience, right? I didn't want to stay home with my parents. Right?
Yeah. You wanted to be able to like actually have it, like as if you were coming in for the first time.
So by being on campus, I got to be introduced to a number of different people. So like, being the Buffalo guy, right? When you have a lot of people on campus who are from out of town, or from New York City, from Rochester, from Syracuse, right? So like you stay on campus.
Those are not the best wings. Let me show you where the best wings are.
Yeah. So now you're building these relationships with these people. So like now you're building these relationships. So now it's like, my birthday's coming. So then let me slow down by saying, so then my second semester of my freshman year, I ended up getting an apartment on Reese Street, which is down the street from Buff State, right? Pretty much on campus. I didn't want to stay on dorms anymore. So then my birthday was coming up. It was spring semester. Birthday's in February. I'm like, I'm going to throw a house party. So I threw a house party. Went very successful. Then a group of friends who I was playing football with was like, yo, we see you had a house party. Can we do another one at your house? So we did one again. Very successful. The University police didn't particularly care for because so many people were coming over. And then that led into just get into really nightlife promotions, right? Nightclub, I would just say, so like party promotions for college-based students. And we did that for a number of years throughout my college career. College time. Very successful at doing that. All different type of parties. We're bringing in some of the bigger DJs in the country. But even at that time, when I was getting to that point, I was like, hey, like, I want that to be like a stepping stone to other things I want to do. I don't want, didn't want to do party promotion my whole life, right?
Yeah,
so it's like, hey, like, I want to get into some other things. So that led into, other entities like Ballin' for a Cause, which is a basketball tournament that we ran for 12 years, that we held events in different cities. And
Which cities did you
so we held events in like the Cleveland area, Pittsburgh, Dallas, New York City, Toronto. And I'm missing anybody, Erie, PA. So we held those in, and then we basically do like a circuit of tournaments, and then those champions would come to Buffalo. And then also we would have like basically like the national basketball tournament. The national tournament would be here in Buffalo, where we would have teams coming pretty much from all over the country, and then we expanded that to like a World Games division where we had teams from all over the world coming to compete. So from Canada, from Nigeria, from Puerto Rico, from South America, so forth like that. So we had about 12 different countries coming from all over the world.
What even gets you to have that idea to be like, this is what, I mean, you said kind of the genesis of it, but like, you're just like, yep, I'm going to just decide to have everyone in the world who wants to do basketball come here and compete.
Yeah, just start off like, our team's like, hey, let's do a basketball tournament. So we did it, and then that was growing in its own right.
Snowball.
So yeah, it's just like a snowball effect, and then that just gained into relations. I always try to like elevate everything I'm doing like in a different first. Nothing gets like stale. So it's okay, like we're getting to this point, like like hey, like let's add something new to kind of keep things kind of going, and we did that, and so we did that for 12 years.
Good for you. And then what were some of the causes that you raised for it?
So we do Ballin' for a Cause. So we end up setting up our own like 501c3 during that process. But early on in our early years, we supported like foster care agencies through there, and then when we started getting our own, we're starting to do our own community programming. So we had mentorship programs. We had
youth then you built programs based on this.
Yeah, so we had mentorship programs. We had youth sports programs. So from youth basketball to baseball to Saturday academies. We had a number of different things that were happening that we kind of built that off of. So like we had like our own organization. So that carried for about like 12 years or so. And and at that same conjoined time, I was working in the schools at that time as well too.
So just everything, just juggling.
Yeah, it was a huge juggle. Yeah, it was a huge juggle. Yeah.
So then, tell me a little bit more about more of the creative side of things. You even were mentioning that you used to do Buffalo Creatives.
Yeah, so then that transitioned from the sports world, which was basketball, like the sports aspect of it, obviously still having the history with party promotions and essentially like the music industry, was coming to say, okay, hey, I want to do like a festival here in Buffalo, right? And I want to do one where it has national attention and people are kind of seeking to come like you kind of see in other areas. So in 2014, I just made it like a Facebook status and a few classmates who are still part of the mission today, like, hey, let's do it, right? So we built it conceptually for about 2 years. So from about 2014 to 2016, we did it. And then we launched in 2017 with our inaugural Beau Fleuve Music Arts, and then that kind of like just spurred to where we are today with Beau Fleuve, right? With creating like this one-day event similar to what Ballin' for a Cause was creating this one-day tournament, but creating this one-day event that then spurs into a number of different initiatives, programs that we are currently doing. So like Ballin' for a Cause was like the blueprint for what we're doing now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So then what's the big event this year?
Yeah, so the big event is our annual celebration weekend. So that was what we started off with, which was really a platform for emerging artists, curators, really a celebration of music, arts, and culture to what it is today. So really creating a space where that is celebrated, the community is celebrated by being culturally activated, community engaged. So everybody can feel that they can be seen there, they can be welcomed there. We're really creating a space for all ages to come. So with doing that, we started off in year one. And just keeping that mantra, like we didn't want to just to be, this one day thing. So we were doing that, and we started having some partnerships with like Creative Mornings Buffalo, right, which is now Wonderland, and so we started off by curating their morning music, right, and that morning music where we would feature some of the artists that we were bringing on there, and so we added like a new flair to what they were kind of doing, and then that evolved into other partnerships that we were having. And then over the time, we had like a micro grant to do like some summer programming, and that evolved into different programming. So now, both we have upwards like this year, we'll on the public facing side, between free and ticketed events, we'll do somewhere probably about 35-40 events through this year. Yeah, between different culture and lifestyle events, and as the celebration was like our Super Bowl, it was like the end of our year. We're now it's more like All-Star Weekend, so it's like in the middle of like everything that's kind of like happening, right?
So it's not the culmination of it; it's just kind of like part of keeping everyone excited throughout the year.
Yep. So
that's big lift. So then, how do people find that organization? Like sign up for the list, or how do they get involved?
Yeah. So easy ways, always social media. So at Beau Fleuve Music Arts, BeauFleuve Music Arts. That's on Instagram. You can follow us. We always keep that updated. Same spelling to our website. We'll have, a lot of your information on stuff there. And between those two, you'll find ways to kind of connect and find your pivot. And where we really built that brand to being is like culture and lifestyle. Is like there's something for everybody, right? If you want to be into lifestyle, whether it's our run club, or whether it's our golf club, whether it's elevated events, right? There's a space for you. If you want to go to some of our cultural partnerships at the museums, the AKGs, the Birchfields, the Exploremores, there's a space for you, right? There's free events, there's lower ticketed events, there's higher ticketed events, right? So there's something for everybody, right?
Cover it throughout the year, that sounds great.
Yeah, so it's a space for everybody to kind of have their own niche, right? And ultimately, what that does and what we're seeing now, right, is that hey, we may be engaging with this set of individual in our golf space, right? But now they're loving that sub-community, that community that's involved, and now they're becoming attached to some of the other bigger, larger things that we're doing. So
now, how does the Legacy Polo match fit in with all their passions and with this specific?
Yeah, so that kind of correlates to like our elevated events. So this kind of spurred off from actually another event that we're having this week. We can call Mix It Up, and it was like, hey, this was kind of around 2021. We were like, okay, like what's some events that we can build around? Where we're talking about building outside this one day event, like how can we set like basically like a tempo of events, right, that leads up to like our big event. So the Mix It Up was like this, cocktail bartender challenge, right, that we kind of did. And at there, like we did like invite only, but we were like passing out like these member only cards, right? And after like the first two years or so of doing it, I was noticing that people were holding on to those cards. So it was like a keepsake. So I'm like, And then as we were starting to expand upon to more events, people are like, hey, I'm keeping my card, but also, why don't you just like package the experiences that you're creating into like this like membership, and then that'll be so now I can just, basically pay for it, and I don't have to worry about it for the rest of the year. So we piloted last year, which we here's a framework, and then we branded it under the River Club of Beau Fleuve, where now this is like not only an experience portion of it, but there's also a donor management also as well too. So those who want to support the organization philanthropically, tongue twister, tongue twister, right? They can do so as well too, while still enjoying these elevated experiences. So these elevated experiences being, we'll have cigar nights, we'll have the polo match, which is happening, right? To where now you're engaging with those type of donors, or those who just want to enjoy those type of events. It may be a private gallery open. So just carrying those, so that kind of like in that realm, it's like, where I look at it, is like me kind of tapping back into like my creative side, like almost like a tastemaker way. It's like, okay, like, hey, like I want to do this. I want to do like a dinner party, right? Yeah. And I don't want to get bogged down with it, trying to bring out hundreds or thousands of people. Like, let's do it for 12 people, right? And make it meaningful and make it impactful. So like those type of things is
super memorable.
Yeah. And
I think that's really neat, because a lot of times someone creative like yourself creating these experiences, curating them, if you will, then it's someone like me, like, oh, well, I've never had an opportunity to go to a polo match before. Right. Wouldn't that be great? And then you get to network, and you get to meet other people interested in similar things, other business people, what have you. So I think it's really neat.
Yeah, and that's what Chris, we're creating. Well, not creating, but we're continuing to evolve like this community within, right? So it's like now you're seeing businesses sponsoring some of their employees to kind of be a part of this, right? People are getting, because they're seeing the value add, not just only with the events, but the connection pieces as well too, right? The opportunity to meet new people, connect, right? And then in hopes that there's some ROI on their end, right? Whether that's through networking, go on their database, whether that's through championing what their company does, right? Or just ultimately, I think the biggest thing for the River Club is creating this third space. I think ultimately not just for the River Club, but just both of all together, is just creating like this third space for everybody to kind of enjoy, right? So it's like, we work, we eat, but we're, here creating spaces for play, right? Like as professionals, okay, like where can I go just to like relax and have a good time and not have to worry about all the other stuff that's happening around, and then I can get back to that later. So it's creating that third space for people. Yeah.
And I think it's really important now, especially like post-COVID, work from home, post where everything almost became one multi-use space, right?
Yeah.
And someone like you gets us back out. It's like, okay, we're past that time.
Yeah.
Let's get out. Let's mingle. Let's mix. Let's actually like have fun again.
Yeah.
In that third space.
In that third space, and I think we're slow. I think we're almost out of it. We're slowly getting off of that, shaking of that like that year and a half of like that COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
Where so like now get people back outside and like being social, right, and not being so much a digital space. So
get into the third space again. Yeah. And really, I think it's important, especially like in a community like Buffalo, like get out and meet your neighbors.
Yeah.
We've been cooped up for too long. We're cooped up for like 9 months out of the year. Let's go enjoy some good weather.
Yeah. We have to kind of like navigate between December and March, sometimes early April. Just, you can make plans, but, the weather can have a different plan for you.
True.
From springtime until late fall, it's like, we got to make things happen. But throughout the year, we want to make things happen as well, too, for people.
So what's happening this summer? Anything interesting?
Yeah, so we have a number of different things. So we have a weekly run club that meets bi-weekly in different neighborhoods throughout the city. So, people, that's a health initiative as well, too. We have monthly golf link-ups where our birdies and beach where people can get together, whether you're beginner to intermediate to experienced, is really creating a space where people are welcome into the golf industry. So we have a number of those happening. This weekend, obviously, we have the Legacy Polo match. And then we have some community-based events happening in July. We have a tech event in partnership with M&T Bank on July 25th. And then we have a summer dance camp on July 26th in partnership with Shea's. And then we have our celebration weekend, which happens from August 21st to the 24th, which will be our VIP reception, our backyard barbecue, our golf tournament, and then our festival celebration. That's all in the next couple months.
Where do you find time to breathe?
Well, yeah. So that's important. But then also having a really good team, board of trustees that really believe and support the mission, right, and help out. Just in the past couple of years or so, we've been able to secure some smaller funding grants, some grants in general to aid in helping people project manage to kind of come on. So, but that's been a huge lift to not only myself, but to the overall mission at hand.
So, what are some of the pain points growing this from just like an idea in your head to where it is today, where you have a board of trustees, where you have multiple people managing things, employees, the whole nine? 50 events a year,
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is some of the pain points is you have to be able to effectively tell the story to everybody, so everybody gets it and is on to. Sometimes people kind of get caught in like a pigeonhole mindset, not like in our group, but just like, okay, we know you for this, but you also got this, and this is going on, right?
So you're not going to think of maybe the weekly running group,
right.
It's there,
right. So being able to effectively tell that story, so making sure that we're getting there. But even if we have to just speak to the audience, just to that audience, and then they can slowly catch on to where it's at. But we're very excited about where we're going, right? With everything. The other thing is probably really just as you're growing, you obviously need more brand partnerships, right? So I think for a lot of organizations and companies now, particularly with the economic situation, right, you have to kind of navigate that new space on rollbacks, on cutbacks, on funding and economic issues. So being able to navigate that space is huge. So I think those are your two biggest things. Always want to be able to tell the story effectively, but also be able to raise the partnership levels so that you can be able to execute these events that you want to do on a high level.
Yeah, and give them the value that they are when the time is tight.
Right.
Make sure that they're still like, no, I want to put my money towards you.
Right.
No, and that is a lot of navigation in general. So then, did you want to talk a little bit about Buffalo Pal? Great.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. So tell me about your day job.
Your day job.
So what do you do? Talk about like pulling things together with Buffalo Pal. What do you do there?
Yeah, so I'm the Director of Advancement and Development with Buffalo Pal. So basically that is a culmination of all of the skill sets that I've developed over these 20 years, right? Is from that community engagement piece, the relationship piece, right? The event piece and all those things to really help and drive a mission forward. And Buffalo Pal has a mission, its original mission and still is to this day is to create that relationship between police officers and the community at large, right? But then also at the same time, be able to provide effective and positive programs for youth in the community, whether it's athletic, educational, or workforce development. And we'd be able to do that successfully and growing it and really making sure that we're really having these meaningful relationships and a meaningful impact. So that's what we do, the 9 to 5 work.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then do you also still do your real estate as well?
Yeah, so what I kind of did like on like far as like the sales side of things, I kind of like drifted back from that a little bit, obviously because all the things I have on the plate. So
Got
really,
a lot on your plate.
yeah, so really focusing really into the art to culture space, and then also with the PAL space. But then obviously, you know, more or less on the staying on the development side of things versus the grind of sales per se.
So more like developing your own stuff versus just selling other people's.
Yeah.
More ownership in the neighborhood, more ownership in
Right.
the area. And
Right. Yeah. So that's more of it than just the broker side. The broker side is fun. I love putting the deal together. I love that aspect of it, and I still love it. I had a very successful career at it, but I definitely wanted to make sure that I wanted to focus more. That was always my goal in real estate, to not like much things like I didn't want to be on the broker side as much, right? I wanted to get into the development space. So now, you know, entering into that space is where we kind of want to land instead.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love your story along with a lot of other people's stories, but yours specifically because you're pulling in so many different components of just what you grew up with, like how you succeeded in different things, and it culminates in things you're passionate about. So like every day that you wake up, you got a lot to do.
Yeah.
However, it's something that really activates you, it excites you.
Yeah. It's definitely passion driven. Sometimes I have to like sit down and remind myself like, Lindsay, all right, hold on. That's a great idea. Put that over here.
Table it.
put that over here because let's get through here first, right? So
too many creative ideas all at once. So that is a pain point. You have to focus just on a few at a time.
Yeah, I'm thankful that, you know, creative ideas can continue to come. So like I never want to like stop that thought process, but I do navigate in a way where it's okay, like write it down, get it all out, right, and put it over here.
That's a good idea.
Right? You know, you don't have to activate every single idea at one particular time, right? Because
it's almost like a constant notebook, almost like you just kind of like write it down. You could always revisit and be like, "Oh, that's a good idea."
Yeah, it's a revisit. Then sometimes like you may just get an idea and, you know, it sounds really great right now because you're excited like, oh, let's get on top of it right now. But like, it may be better timing down the line, right? Maybe 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, right? And there's been things that I've seen that I've written down because I try to keep all of the notebooks that I can. It's like, oh, I remember when I talked about this 5-6 years ago. Now it's here. Right,
cool?
Right, and you may have like not forgot about it, but like it just wasn't at the forefront of your mind at that time. So yeah.
And sometimes our ideas, they just might navigate a little differently.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta let them marinate. You gotta let the ideas marinate a little bit. You know, that's one thing. Like I never try to force is an idea. Like especially now with being like so experienced, it's like if it's there, let it marinate. Right, a little bit. Right. Sometimes you get the feeling like okay, this has to go, but like you know. Sometimes you gotta sleep on it because sometimes you let those ideas either foster or marinate even more to like now it becomes bigger than what it is, right? Like the polo match is one. I'm like, okay, when we put it out there, I'm like, oh, I didn't think it was gonna catch on like this,
It's
right?
really cool,
right? So it's like it caught on and it caught a lot of attention. So like that's like a thing. So yeah.
And then you're like, you kind of like let it marinate and then you create it as you go.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important too because then that's not like you're pushing down any of your ideas. You're just putting them to the side and let them see where you can kind of put them in later. Plug and play.
Yeah, plug and play.
Yeah.
So just kind of creating this catalog of ideas. Yeah.
That's cool. I like that. Now, what kind of advice would you give people of how to actually navigate what you're passionate about? Like, how do you do what you do?
I think the biggest thing is being persistent. If it's something that you truly are passionate about, something that you're truly creating, you have to be persistent about it and sometimes boneheaded about it. I think that's the biggest thing because you're going to get all type of factors, right? You're going to get family, friend opinions. You're going to get associate opinions, right? And if you're driven to doing it, right, sometimes you have to just be strong-headed in that mindset. And hopefully they join you along for the ride. But that's the biggest thing is being persistent. And then I would probably, you know, in regards to communication, is, you know, having good communication in regards to your passion as well, too, right? Like, you know, I think one of the things I try to pride myself the most on is, you know, if somebody's like reaching out, we got to stay within communication of what they're kind of doing, right? Or what's kind of like happening because you'll be surprised how people don't communicate.
Especially with like event planning and stuff, you must have a lot of like creative people that don't have the execution side of it.
Yeah, they don't. And that's like probably like biggest thing within like creative industry is like sometimes you almost try to tell the creatives like, hey, like you need to have two sides of your brand, right? You need to have your creative side where maybe that's where you just focus on just creating, but you need to have a business manager that operates and handles your business management. You don't want to get lost in that aspect. Because sometimes a lot of creatives don't want to get into that aspect, but also that may be a hindrance to the growth, right? So, but in either way, like just the opportunity for exposure, but also the opportunity to grow, because if you're not effectively communicating, right, then and you may lose out on a couple of opportunities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me a lot about your whole... Every organization that you built is built on communication and networking.
Yeah.
So then how do you always network? You're always... I mean, obviously you're creating the event, so it's kind of easy for you to network.
Right.
But how do you actually make those meaningful connections with other people?
I think, it's really like your circle of influence, right? It's just like, kind of starts off as like this web. It's like you may start off with just building a meaningful and authentic relationship with one person, and then that person may then refer you, like, hey, and that just be just introductions to other people. Then now you kind of like built like this circle around that one particular person that gave you the introduction, and then now that just kind of like naturally, like I like to do more of like authentic relationships. Like I don't want to force anything. I don't want like an end game to it. It's like, hey, like let's build. Yeah.
Yeah. And the whole thing is, it's getting to know people, and then you actually know what they're looking for, so then you can connect them, and you can continue to really network out. But that just really stands out from like your success, is that of course you're networking, you're communicating, and you're actually following through as well.
Right.
So if you are that creative person that needs a follow through, you just need a sidekick.
Right.
If you are that person that can do both of them,
Right.
you may need to eventually have a sidekick. But you're kind of the all encompassing, like the idea plus the implementation.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So then, how do people find you? How do they reach out to you? How do they find out more?
Yeah. I think obviously one of the best, more professional ways is LinkedIn. So Lindsay L. Taylor, and on there I try to be as much active as possible, and try to keep that professional landscape involved into all of the things I may be, or give them at least a high level to what I'm kind of involved into. And then on any of the other brands, Beau Fleuve Music Arts on Instagram, and then also the River Club, and then also _Buffalo. So those are ways, but if you catch me on LinkedIn, you'll catch all of them.
Yeah. Find him on LinkedIn, catch him on all the social media, and definitely check out all the events coming up. Get into that third space, get out, network, make those connections, and enjoy yourself this summer.
Enjoy it. All right. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Pain Points podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to follow us so you never miss out on future episodes.